It's easy to get frustrated. We know this, right? We're human. And when we attempt to communicate a message and it's not received and it's not received, and sometimes people just don't want to hear it and they won't hear it. And that happens too. We're not pretending that it doesn't. But there are so many different ways that you can do your best to communicate it without letting it steal your energy and your joy. And that's a huge part of it. But ultimately, boundaries also change, right? We learn new ones. We don't know what we don't know until we know it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a new boundary. I hadn't experienced that before. Now I have. And now I know that's a boundary. So oftentimes when you hear someone say, well, that's never been a problem before, it is, well, I've never experienced it quite like that before. So now I know it's a boundary. So yeah, you're right. You haven't heard it before because I didn't know it before. But now I do, now we do, and now we're creating a new structure for how that will occur. And we have we have a course actually, because this happens so often, not only for us, but for people in our community, that we developed a mini course really to help people navigate through setting boundaries and guiding principles, because we view it really as a little circle, our own little bubble, right? How will we not only allow people to interface with us into our little bubble, but also how will we choose to interact with the world? Because it's a two-way flow, right? So that mini course has been incredibly helpful, even for me to revisit over and over, because it is a moving target. We're constantly learning, we're constantly growing, we're constantly expanding, and revisiting that just helps. If anybody's interested in that mini course, the link will be in the description wherever they're listening to or watching this. Um, but in talking to the two individuals this week, it was something we did revisit so that they could begin to ask themselves, when you're setting your boundaries or guiding principles, one of the first things you need to do is understand, who are you as a core person? That way, you know how you choose to interact with the world and how you choose to allow the world to interact with you. That is one of the core fundamental things. And I don't know that we tend to do that very often, because you can get battered around a lot when you're getting pressure from your friends or your family to do something, and your inner critic wants to guilt you very heavily. You don't want to disappoint them. They will be so sad if you don't do what they're asking, and it's not that much anyway. They do so much for you. Why wouldn't you do this one little thing for them? If you know your core beingness, I guess I would offer as the core point, and I'll use myself as an example, and I will say this over and over. All I can do is offer my experience from inside, my beingness, because I don't know how everybody else is experiencing the world, but I know how I do. And when I got to the point where I could say I have solidly planted myself like a tree and could tell the rest of the world, no, you move, if it came at me in a direction that did not align with my core purpose and my core beingness, it was when I sat and said, what am I here to offer the world? Why am I here in this world right now? If I were to ask myself that, and I stripped away all these roles that I was here experiencing, which are very important, but it wasn't like what I'm here for. They are beautiful expressions of what I'm here for. And that core characteristic was unconditional love. Then everything else became a byproduct. Every choice I made became a choice of unconditional love. It enhanced everything that I did. Being a parent, being a partner, being a daughter, being a friend, Everything came from that core concept. So all of my guiding principles, how I interacted with the world, came from that core concept. How can I be an expression of unconditional love? And then everything that I allowed to come into my bubble, every person or every boundary, every personal boundary I set had to be one that interfaced as unconditional love. If it violated that boundary, then it didn't come in. So, what I would recommend to anyone is pause. Ask yourself, what is that core for you? What is it that you know in your heart of hearts you are here to bring to the world? And it might be more than one, but you know at the end of the day, this is why I'm here. And then create your personal boundaries and your guiding principles from that place. It makes it so much easier to plant yourself and say, okay, as the world starts to batter me around the way that it does and the way that it will, because that's just, we're a bunch of energy bouncing off of each other. It's a lot of fun. How am I going to know what my energy resonance is and how it best interacts with all of the other energetic patterns bouncing around out there?